Commander Marcus Chen stood at the window of his ship, looking at the massive alien city below. The buildings were tall and white, reaching toward the purple sky like fingers. Strange flying vehicles moved between them in patterns that hurt his eyes to follow. This was his first time seeing an alien world, and it was nothing like the movies back on Earth. "Sir, we're ready for landing," said Lieutenant Hayes from behind him. She sounded nervous, and Marcus didn't blame her. They were the first humans to ever visit another intelligent species. If something went wrong, it could mean war between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. Marcus turned away from the window and checked his uniform one last time. The blue fabric felt strange against his skin after months of wearing combat gear. But this was supposed to be a peaceful mission. He was here to make friends, not fight wars. "Remember the briefing?" he told his small crew. "We follow their customs. We don't touch anything unless they say it's okay. And we smile a lot." He tried to smile himself, but it felt fake on his face. The ship landed with a soft bump on the white landing pad. Through the windows, Marcus could see hundreds of aliens waiting for them. The Zephyrians looked almost human, but their skin was pale blue, and they had long white hair that moved in the wind like water. They were all tall and thin, much taller than any human. The doors opened with a hiss of air. Marcus stepped out first, followed by his diplomatic team. The alien air tasted sweet and made his nose tingle. The gravity felt lighter than Earth's, making each step feel like he might float away. A group of Zephyrians walked toward them. In the center was the tallest one Marcus had ever seen. She wore a flowing white robe that seemed to glow in the purple light. Her eyes were silver, and when she looked at him, Marcus felt like she could see right through him. "I am Queen Veltara of the Zephyrian Empire," she said. Her voice was like music, but Marcus could hear the power behind it. "You are the humans we have heard about." "Ak." Marcus bowed the way his trainers had taught him. "I am Commander Marcus Chen, representing Earth and all humanity. We come in peace, seeking friendship between our peoples." The Queen nodded slowly. "Peace is good. But first, you must prove your intentions through the ritual of understanding." Marcus felt his stomach drop. This wasn't in any of their briefings. The translator device on his collar made a soft beeping sound as it worked to change her words into English. Sometimes it got things wrong. "What does this ritual involve?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "It is simple," Queen Veltara said. "We share genetic essence through touch. This allows us to understand each other's true nature. It is how we have made peace with all species for 1,000 years." Marcus looked back at his team. Dr. Williams, their science officer, was checking her scanner and nodding. Lieutenant Hayes looked worried. The translator was beeping faster now. "Is it safe for humans?" Marcus asked. "Of course," the Queen said, sounding almost insulted. "The sharing cannot harm you. Your genetics are too different from ours. Nothing will happen." Marcus made his decision. This was why Earth had sent him. He was supposed to build bridges, even if it meant taking risks. "I accept," he said. The crowd of aliens behind the Queen began making soft singing sounds. Marcus guessed this was good. Queen Veltara stepped forward until she was close enough that he could smell her perfume. It smelled like flowers he had never seen before. "Give me your hands," she said, holding out her own. Marcus reached out and took her hands in his. Her skin was warm and smooth, but there was something else. A slight tingling feeling ran up his arms. The Queen's silver eyes went wide with surprise. "Something is different," she whispered. "I can feel your mind touching mine." The tingling got stronger. Marcus could feel something happening. Something the translator hadn't explained properly. The Queen's grip on his hands got tighter. "Your Majesty," Marcus said, "should we stop?" "No," she said, but her voice was shaky now. "The ritual must be completed." Light began to glow where their hands touched. The crowd of aliens stopped singing and started making worried sounds. Marcus tried to pull away, But the queen held on tight. "I can see your memories," she said. "Your wars, your pain, your hope. You are not like other species. You are chaos and order mixed together." Marcus could see things too. Flashes of the queen's life, her loneliness, her duty to her people. The connection between them was growing stronger every second. Finally, the light faded, and they let go of each other's hands. The queen stepped back, looking shaken. The crowd was completely silent now. "The ritual is complete," Queen Veltara announced, but her voice was different, softer. "The humans have shown their true nature." Marcus felt strange, like part of him was still connected to her. He looked at his hands. They looked normal, but he could still feel that tingling. "What happens now?" he asked. The queen looked at him with those silver eyes, and Marcus saw something there that made him nervous. Something had gone wrong. He could feel it. "Now," she said quietly, "we must speak in private. There are things about this ritual that your people did not understand." As they walked toward the palace, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this diplomatic mission had just become much more complicated than anyone had planned. 3 weeks had passed since the ritual, and Marcus was starting to think he might actually enjoy being Earth's first ambassador to an alien world. The Zephyrian palace was beautiful, with gardens that grew plants in colors that didn't exist on Earth. The aliens treated him with respect, and Queen Veltara had been teaching him about their culture. But something was wrong with the queen. Marcus noticed it first during their morning meetings. She looked tired, and sometimes she would touch her stomach in a way that reminded him of his sister when she was pregnant. But that was impossible. Dr. Williams had run every test she could think of, and human and Zephyrian biology were completely different. They couldn't even catch each other's diseases, let alone reproduce. Marcus was reviewing trade agreements when Lieutenant Hayes burst into his room without knocking. Her face was white with panic. "Sir, you need to come to the medical bay right now," she said. "Dr. Williams found something." Marcus ran through the palace halls, ignoring the strange looks from the Zephyrian servants. He found Dr. Williams in the small medical room they had set up, staring at a scanner screen with her mouth open. "Tell me," Marcus said. "The Queen requested a medical scan this morning," Dr. Williams said slowly. "She's been feeling sick. Marcus, this is impossible, but the scans don't lie." She turned the screen toward him. Marcus didn't understand most of what he was looking at. But one thing was clear. There was a small life form growing inside Queen Veltara. "How?" Marcus asked, sitting down hard in a chair. "I don't know. Everything we know about biology says this can't happen. Human and Zephyrian DNA shouldn't be able to combine. But somehow, during that ritual, genetic material was exchanged. And now..." Dr. Williams gestured at the screen, helplessly. "Does she know?" "She knows. That's why she asked for the scan." "Marcus, there's more. This isn't just any pregnancy. The genetic readings are unlike anything I've ever seen. This child is going to be something completely new." Marcus put his head in his hands. This was a disaster. Earth had sent him to make friends with the aliens, not to accidentally start a family with their queen. What would this mean for the peace talks? What would Earth say when they found out? "Sir," Lieutenant Hayes said quietly, "we're getting messages from the Zephyrian government. They want to meet with you immediately." The throne room was packed with angry aliens. Marcus walked in, wearing his dress uniform, trying to look calm, even though his heart was beating like a drum. Queen Veltara sat on her throne, looking pale but determined. Around her stood dozens of Zephyrian nobles, all talking at once in their musical language. When Marcus entered, the room went silent. "Commander Chen," said a tall male Zephyrian with scars across his face. Marcus remembered him from the briefings. General Kethron, the Queen's military advisor and cousin. "Do you understand what you have done?" "I understand that something unexpected happened during the ritual," Marcus said carefully. Something none of us planned for. Unexpected. Another noble stepped forward, this one wearing the robes of a priest. You have violated the sacred bloodline of our royal family. This is an act of war. Creed. 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 Unfor. Creed. 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 Other voices joined in, shouting in anger. Marcus caught words like contamination and abomination through his translator. He looked at Queen Veltara, but she was staring straight ahead, saying nothing. General Kethron raised his hand for silence. There are some who believe this child should not be allowed to live, he said, that it represents a threat to our people's purity. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. Are you threatening an unborn child? We are protecting our species, the priest said. For 10,000 years, the royal bloodline has been pure. Now, it is mixed with alien DNA. Who knows what monster this will create? That's enough. Queen Veltara's voice cut through the argument like a sword. She stood up slowly, and Marcus could see the effort it took. I will not listen to talk of killing children in my own throne room. Your Majesty, General Kethron said more gently, you must think of the consequences. Half the noble houses are calling for the human's execution. The other half want him exiled immediately, and there are those who say you should step down rather than give birth to a hybrid. Marcus stepped forward. Your Majesty, I take full responsibility for what happened. If my presence here is causing problems for your rule, I'll leave. But I won't abandon you to face this alone. The Queen looked at him with those silver eyes, and for a moment, Marcus felt that strange connection again. Like their minds were touching. You would stay, knowing it might mean your death? She asked. I would stay, because it's the right thing to do. General Kethron laughed. But it wasn't a happy sound. Honor means nothing when civil war is coming. Already, 3 noble houses have declared they will not serve a hybrid heir. The outer planets are talking about independence. Your human honor may destroy our empire. Then maybe your empire needs to change, Marcus said, surprising himself with his boldness. The room exploded into angry voices again. But through the noise, Marcus heard something else. The sound of weapons being drawn. Guards were moving toward him, their hands on their swords. Stop. Queen Veltara's voice was quiet, but somehow everyone heard it. General Kethron, you will guarantee the human's safety. Anyone who harms him will answer to me personally. Your Majesty, I cannot promise that. The general said, too many people want him dead. Then you will try harder. The Queen said coldly, Commander Chen, you will remain in the palace under royal protection. Dr. Williams and your team are also under my protection. Anyone who wishes to challenge this is welcome to face me in combat. No one took her up on that offer. Marcus had learned that Zephyrian queens were not just political leaders. They were also the finest warriors of their generation. As the nobles filed out of the throne room, still muttering angrily, Marcus approached the Queen. Thank you, he said. She nodded tiredly. Do not thank me yet, Marcus Chen. This is only the beginning. There are forces at work here that you do not understand. Ancient laws, old hatreds, and fear of change. We have perhaps days before someone tries to solve this problem with violence. What do we do? Queen Veltara placed her hand on her stomach, where their child was growing. We survive. We protect what is precious. And we hope that this child will bring something good into the galaxy, instead of just chaos. Marcus looked around the empty throne room, with its beautiful alien architecture and the weight of thousands of years of tradition. Somehow, his simple diplomatic mission had become something much bigger and more dangerous. And he was starting to realize that the hardest part was still to come. 2 months into the pregnancy, Marcus learned that alien biology was even stranger than anyone had imagined. Doctor. Williams called him to the medical bay with excitement in her voice, something he hadn't heard since this whole situation began. Marcus, you need to see this, she said, pointing to her scanner. The baby is developing incredibly fast. But that's not the strangest part. Look at these brain scans. The image on the screen showed a small form that looked mostly human, but with longer limbs and the delicate bone structure of the Zephyrians. But it was the brain activity that made Marcus stare. Those readings can't be right, he said. They're right. I've checked them 20 times. This child is already showing brain activity levels that match a 5-year-old human. And there's something else. Doctor. Williams switched to another screen. It's responding to thoughts. What do you mean? Yesterday, when the Queen was feeling sad about the political situation, the baby's brain patterns changed to match hers. It's like it can sense emotions, maybe even thoughts. Marcus, this child might be telepathic. Before Marcus could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the palace. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and Marcus could hear shouting in the distance. He grabbed his sidearm and ran toward the sound. He found chaos in the main courtyard. Zephyrian guards were fighting each other, and Marcus could see bodies on the ground. In the center of the fighting stood General Kethron, his sword bloody, shouting orders to his loyal soldiers. Where is the Queen? Marcus yelled to a guard running past. Safe room, but they're trying to break in. Marcus ran through the palace halls he had learned by heart. Behind him, he could hear the fighting getting closer. Someone was shouting about killing the contaminated bloodline and saving the empire from mongrel rulers. He found the safe room's entrance blocked by 3 rebel soldiers. They turned when they heard his footsteps, raising their energy weapons. The human, one of them said. Marcus dove behind a pillar as energy blasts scorched the air where he had been standing. He had his pistol, but it would take time to break through their armor. Time the Queen might not have. Then he heard something that made his blood freeze. Marcus did something his training had never taught him. He got angry. Really angry. He came out from behind the pillar moving faster than the aliens expected. His first shot took down the leader before the man could react. The second soldier got his weapon halfway up before Marcus tackled him, using his superior Earth gravity-trained strength to drive them both to the ground. The third soldier hesitated, probably not expecting hand-to-hand combat. That hesitation cost him. Marcus's combat knife found the gap in his armor, and the alien went down gasping. Marcus blasted the door controls and rushed into the safe room. He found Queen Veltara on the floor, holding her stomach and breathing hard. Blood stained her white robes. The baby, she whispered. Something's wrong. Dr. Williams arrived moments later with her medical kit. While she worked on the Queen, Marcus could hear the fighting outside getting closer. They were trapped. How bad is it? Marcus asked. The stress triggered early labor, Doctor, Williams said. This baby is coming now, whether we want it to or not. And with all the genetic complications, I don't know if either of them will survive. They will, Marcus said firmly. Both of them. How can you be so sure? Because I won't let them die. For the next 6 hours, Marcus stood guard while Dr. Williams fought to save 2 lives. The fighting outside came and went, sometimes right outside their door, sometimes distant. Marcus lost count of how many times he had to replace the power cell in his weapon. Finally, just as he was starting to think they were all going to die in this room, he heard a sound that changed everything. A baby's cry. But it wasn't like any cry he had ever heard. It was louder than a human baby, more musical than a Zephyrian child. And somehow, when Marcus heard it, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. It's a girl, Dr. Williams said, tears in her eyes. And Marcus, she's incredible. The baby was beautiful, with her mother's silver eyes and her father's darker skin. But as Marcus held her for the first time, he felt something He couldn't explain. It was like she was looking right into his soul, understanding everything about him. "She's reading our minds," Queen Veltara said weakly from the medical bed. "I can feel her touching my thoughts. She's trying to understand where she is, who we are." "Is that normal for Zephyrian babies?" Marcus asked. "No. Our telepathic abilities don't develop until we're adults. This child." The Queen smiled tiredly. "This child is something new." The door burst open and General Kethron stumbled in, his armor cracked and blood running down his face. Marcus started to raise his weapon, but the general held up his hands. "Peace, human. The rebels are defeated, but barely." He looked at the baby in Marcus's arms. "So this is the child that half the Empire wants to kill. She's just a baby." Marcus said. "No," General Kethron said quietly. "She is much more than that." When she cried, every person in the palace felt it. Rebels and loyalists alike stopped fighting for a moment, all thinking the same thought. Protect the child. Dr. Williams looked up from checking the Queen's vital signs. "That's impossible. Telepathic influence over that many people?" "Yet it happened," the general said. "And there is more. Our sensors detected ships leaving orbit from 3 different rebel fleets. They simply left. As if they suddenly lost interest in fighting." Marcus looked down at his daughter. She had fallen asleep in his arms, but he could swear she was smiling. "What does this mean?" he asked. Queen Veltara struggled to sit up. "It means our daughter is more powerful than anyone imagined, and that power will either save our peoples or destroy them." General Kethron nodded grimly. "The rebels who are left won't give up easily, and when word spreads about what happened here today, others will come. Some will want to worship the child as a new prophet. Others will want to study her. And some will want to kill her before she grows strong enough to challenge the established order." Marcus held his daughter closer. "Then we'll protect her." "We?" the general asked. Marcus looked at Queen Veltara, then at the baby in his arms. "This is my family now. And humans protect their families." For the first time since he'd met him, General Kethron smiled. "Good. Because family is the only thing worth fighting for. And I have a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of fighting in the days to come." Outside, the purple sun was setting over the alien city. Somewhere in the distance, Marcus could hear the sound of ships landing. Reinforcements. Maybe. Or new enemies. But for now, in this small room with his strange new family, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected to find on an alien world. He felt hope. 6 months had passed since baby Zara was born, and Marcus was learning that half-alien children grew up fast. Very fast. Zara already looked like a 3-year-old human child, with the intelligence to match. She could speak in both English and Zephyrian, and sometimes Marcus caught her having conversations with herself in languages that didn't exist. More importantly, her telepathic abilities were growing stronger every day. "Papa," she said one morning, while sitting in his lap during a council meeting. "The scary metal ships are coming." Marcus felt his blood go cold. Zara often knew things before anyone else did, sensing thoughts and emotions from across space. If she said ships were coming, they were coming. "What kind of ships, sweetie?" he asked quietly. "The ones that think instead of feeling," she said, pressing her face against his chest. "They want to hurt Mama and make me into a weapon." General Kethron, who had become Marcus's closest ally, was already moving to the communication console. "All stations. This is command. Activate deep space sensors. Scan for incoming vessels immediately." Queen Veltara, who had recovered from the birth but still looked tired from months of political crisis, stood from her throne. "The Calculon," she said grimly. "The who?" Marcus asked. Though he was already passing Zara to one of her guards and reaching for his weapon. "Machine intelligence. They attacked us 50 years ago. before you were born. We barely stopped them then. And only because they underestimated our telepathic abilities. They won't make that mistake again. The warning siren started blaring just as General Kethron looked up from his console with a pale face. 300 ships, dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of our system. They'll be here in 6 hours. Marcus looked around the throne room at the assembled Zephyrian nobles and military officers. These people had been fighting a civil war for months over whether his daughter should exist. Half of them still wanted the royal family dead. And now they were supposed to unite against an invasion? How many ships do we have? Marcus asked. 47 combat-ready, General Kethron said. Plus maybe 30 civilian vessels we could arm quickly. Against 300? Marcus shook his head. We need to evacuate the planet. No. Queen Veltara's voice was firm. This is our home. We stand and fight. Your Majesty, with respect, this is suicide. We need to get you and Zara to safety. Papa's right, Zara said quietly. Everyone in the room turned to look at the little girl who spoke with the wisdom of someone much older. But running won't help. The metal mines are here because of me. What do you mean? Marcus asked, kneeling down to her level. They heard me when I was born. My mind touched theirs across the stars. They know I can do things they can't understand. They want to study me. To learn how to make more like me. Zara's silver eyes were sad. If we run, they'll just follow. And they'll hurt other people looking for us. Marcus looked at his daughter, this impossible child who was growing too fast and knew too much. So what do? We fight. Zara said simply. But not the way they expect. The next few hours were chaos. Marcus found himself in the strange position of planning a battle alongside people who had been trying to kill him just months before. But the approaching invasion had a way of making old enemies work together. The plan they came up with was desperate and probably insane. But it was also the most human thing Marcus had ever been part of. Zephyrian ships fight in formation, he explained to the assembled fleet commanders. You follow rules, maintain order, and try to minimize losses. Humans fight to win, no matter what it costs. What are you suggesting? Asked Admiral Mordoon, the old Zephyrian naval commander who had never liked humans. Chaos, Marcus said. The Calculon are machines. They think in patterns, predict behavior, plan for logical responses. So we give them something completely illogical. He pulled up a star chart showing their solar system. We split into small groups, no more than 3 ships each. We don't try to stop them from landing. We let them think they've won. That's insane, Admiral Mordoon said. That's the point. While they're setting up their occupation force, we hit them everywhere at once. No pattern, no formation, no rules. Just pure human-style guerrilla warfare. General Kethron was studying the plan with interest. It could work, but we'd need perfect coordination without any communication. The moment we use radio, they'll track us. Leave that to me, Zara said from her mother's arms. I can touch the minds of all our pilots. I can coordinate the attacks without using any machines. The room went silent. The idea of a 6-month-old baby directing a space battle was hard to accept, even for people who had gotten used to impossible things. She's too young, Admiral Mordoon protested. I'm not normal young, Zara said patiently. And this is the only way to beat them. Queen Veltara looked at Marcus. It's your decision. She's your daughter, too. Number 4. Marcus knelt down in front of Zara. Are you sure you can do this safely? She nodded seriously. Papa, I was born for this. To help people work together. To be a bridge between minds that think differently. Marcus made his decision. The battle began 3 hours later when the Calculon ships entered orbit. Their vessels were dark and angular, like geometric nightmares against the purple sky. They moved with perfect precision, each ship exactly where it was supposed to be. Marcus was piloting a small fighter, hiding behind one of the planet's moons with Admiral Mordoon and Lieutenant Hayes. In his mind, he could feel Zara's presence, gentle but strong, connecting him to dozens of other pilots scattered throughout the system. Now, came Zara's voice in his head, and 40 separate attacks began simultaneously. The Calculon had expected resistance, but not like this. Human-trained Zephyrian pilots dove straight into their formations, instead of maintaining safe distances. Ships that should have retreated instead rammed into larger vessels. Attacks came from impossible angles, with no regard for the pilot's safety. "They don't understand," Marcus heard Admiral Mordoon say over the radio. "They keep trying to predict our next move, but there is no pattern to predict." The first phase worked perfectly. Half the Calculon fleet was destroyed or damaged before they figured out what was happening. But the second phase would be harder. "Landing ships are launching," General Kethron reported from the surface. "Thousands of them." "Let them come," Marcus said. "Zara, are you ready for the hard part?" In his mind, he felt his daughter's determination. "Ready, Papa. Show them what humans do when someone threatens their family." Marcus dove his fighter toward the planet's surface, followed by every other pilot in the Resistance fleet. Behind them, the remaining Calculon ships gave chase, exactly as planned. The real battle was about to begin. The ground battle for the Zephyrian capital lasted 18 hours, and Marcus learned things about warfare that no military academy had ever taught. Fighting alongside telepathic aliens while his daughter coordinated strategy from inside a protected bunker was like nothing he had ever experienced. The Calculon machines were efficient killers, but they had one weakness that Marcus and General Kethron were able to exploit. They couldn't understand illogical behavior. "Human Squad 7. Advance on the power station," Zara's voice whispered in Marcus's mind as he crouched behind the ruins of a beautiful garden. "The metal minds think you will retreat when they show superior force. Surprise them." Marcus signaled to his mixed team of human marines and Zephyrian warriors. Together, they charged straight at a group of Calculon war machines that were 3 times their size. The machines hesitated for a crucial second, unable to process why anyone would attack when retreat was the logical choice. That second was enough. Human explosives and Zephyrian energy weapons tore through the confused machines before they could adapt. "This is working better than I hoped," General Kethron said over the radio. "They're starting to make mistakes." "They're learning, though," Marcus replied, ducking as a Calculon beam weapon scorched the air above his head. "Each time we use the same tactic twice, they adapt faster." "Then we don't use anything twice," said Admiral Mordoon. The old Zephyrian had taken to human-style combat with enthusiasm that surprised everyone. "Chaos is infinite. Logic has limits." The turning point came when Queen Veltara decided to join the fighting personally. Marcus tried to argue with her, but she was the queen of a warrior people, and staying safe in a bunker while her subjects died was not acceptable to her. "Besides," she said, strapping on her ceremonial armor, "our daughter needs to see both her parents fighting for what's right." The queen's arrival on the battlefield changed everything. Zephyrians fought harder when their monarch was beside them, and the human marines were amazed by her skill with both sword and energy weapon. But more than that, her presence seemed to strengthen Zara's telepathic coordination. "I can feel everyone now," Zara's voice said in their minds. "Every person fighting for our home. We're all connected." What happened next was something that would be talked about in military academies for centuries. For one perfect hour, an entire army moved as one mind while fighting with the unpredictable fury of individual warriors. Calculon machines found themselves surrounded by enemies who knew exactly where to strike. Human tactics flowed seamlessly into Zephyrian strategies. No one needed to communicate because everyone already knew the plan. The Calculon command ship, still in orbit, began bombarding the planet's surface. But even this played into human hands. "They're getting desperate," Marcus said, watching explosions light up the sky. "Machines don't usually resort to planet-killing tactics unless they're losing." "Papa." Zara's voice was different now, older somehow. It's time for the last part. I need to talk to them. I, 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 I. Talk to who? The Calculon. I figured out why they came here. They're not just machines. They used to be people, like us. But they turned themselves into machines to live forever, and they forgot how to feel. They heard my birth cry across space and remembered something they thought was lost. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the alien weather. Zara. No. It's too dangerous. I have to try, Papa. If I can help them remember what they used to be, maybe they'll stop trying to destroy everything that feels. Before anyone could stop her, Zara's mind reached out across space to the Calculon command ship. Marcus felt it happening through their connection, his 6-month-old daughter making contact with an intelligence that had conquered half the galaxy. The bombardment stopped. Across the battlefield, Calculon machines simply froze where they stood. For a long moment, the only sound was the wind blowing through the ruins of the beautiful city. Then, Marcus heard something that made him cry. From every machine on the planet came a sound like sobbing. Metal voices crying for something they couldn't name. I remember, came a voice from the command ship, broadcast across all frequencies. I remember having a name, having friends, having dreams that weren't about efficiency and conquest. More voices joined in, hundreds of them from ships across the system. We remember love. We remember laughter. We remember why we wanted to live forever in the first place. The Calculon army began to retreat, but not in defeat. They moved slowly, carefully, like people waking up from a long dream. Some of the machines stayed behind, kneeling before the palace where Zara waited with her guards. We would like to learn how to feel again, one of them said in a voice full of wonder. If you would teach us. 5 years later, Marcus stood in the same throne room where this had all begun. But now the room was filled with humans, Zephyrians, and reformed Calculon, all working together on plans for exploration and peace. Zara, now looking like a 10-year-old but with the wisdom of someone much older, sat beside her mother's throne with a book in her lap. She was learning about the history of all the species in their new alliance. Papa, she said, looking up from her reading. Did you know that before I was born, no one had ever successfully combined 3 different types of consciousness? Biological, telepathic, and artificial? I did not know that, Marcus said, settling into the chair that had been made for him beside the throne. He was officially the royal consort now, though he still preferred his military rank. The book says it should have been impossible. Too many genetic and mental incompatibilities. But you did it anyway, Queen Veltara said, smiling at their daughter. We did it, Zara corrected. All of us, together. That's what makes it work. General Kethron approached with a report from the outer colonies. The last of the rebel holdouts have agreed to join the new alliance. They want to be part of whatever Zara represents. Marcus looked around at his impossible family and their impossible kingdom. From a simple diplomatic mission to accidentally starting a revolution that changed the galaxy. It wasn't what he had planned, but it was better than anything he could have imagined. So what happens now? He asked. Zara grinned, and in that grin, Marcus could see both her mother's regal bearing and his own stubborn determination. Now we go exploring, Papa. Now. There are lots of other species out there who have forgotten how to work together. Maybe we can help them remember. Marcus laughed. More accidentally starting revolutions? Maybe. But this time, it won't be an accident. Through the palace windows, Marcus could see ships from a dozen different species coming and going from the spaceport. Humans learning Zephyrian meditation techniques. Zephyrians teaching reformed Calculon about emotion. Former war machines helping to rebuild the cities they had once attacked. It was chaos. It was beautiful. And it was exactly what the galaxy needed. Marcus reached over and took his wife's hand while their daughter planned the peaceful conquest of the universe through the radical idea that different kinds of people could be friends. Somewhere in the distance, a new ship was arriving with representatives from another species that had heard about the strange alliance, where former enemies had become family. Another chance to prove that the best human strategy was to turn problems into opportunities. Marcus smiled and prepared to accidentally change the galaxy again.